All right, welcome back, everyone, to Finding Truth podcast here on Unscripted Truth TV on YouTube. Logan here with Austin, as usual. A little bit of it's kind of like an oxymoron, a little slow week, but obviously the week went by super fast, but it was slow in the way, at least as far as, headline news or anything like crazy or breaking. A lot, of course, it's nothing but craziness. Weather, war, all sorts of crazy stuff. And then football's back. So, wait, is there a war in Russia? Is there a war in Israel? Football, football. This is the big season. So yeah, all's quiet in the news cycle because they got to get week one uh, out in front of everything. But just another thing that once you notice how they roll out the propaganda, it really starts to seem everything seems much more silly and mundane and innate in anyway. But yeah, so we'll be covering the race, today's race in NASCAR, and I think we'll take a quick look at Xfinity too, just because it's fun. It's fun to talk about what's going on down there a little bit. But we'll do a look ahead. We have a couple of leads on potential narrative for next week, which is an elimination race, first one of the playoffs. So we'll be honed in on that, looking at that. We'll give NASCAR a good bit of time, and then it's everybody's favorite topic. It's Happy 9/11 Day coming up this next week. So we will be dusting off the files. I got the files on my desk. No Epstein in there, but who knows? Maybe it was Epstein all along. Maybe that's what that was all about. We'll figure it out on tonight's episode. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, how's it going, Austin? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm as good as can be, I guess. It's been more of a kind of meh kind of weeks, kind of feeling I guess maybe 9/11 is what I'm feeling. I don't know, the feeling the Septemberness, the fall kicking in, the ugly winter that's apparently on its way, or at least for our area, what they were saying it's going to be cold and stuff. It's just been a kind of a dreary week. It's been not really rain, although last night there was like a big thunderstorm in the area, which was kind of weird. It's a lot of thunder and like lightning, tons of lightning. Um, Last night, but yeah, just it's been kind of a smoky, foggy, hazy week. Um, just kind of like gray out here right now. It's kind of just looks depressing, but yeah, it's just kind of been one of those weeks where I'm just kind of glad it's over with. There really wasn't much of anything. It's just kind of been just more just kind of tired and uh, a lot of stuff going on and a lot of stress and a lot of uncertainty, and it's kind of dealing with a lot, going through a lot right now. So I got a lot of things to think about and worry about, and been just kind of busy and stuff. And it's been kind of just tired and achy. Just haven't had a lot of energy for anything this week. Just haven't slept well and stuff, and just kind of can't really. Some nights last couple of nights I've slept pretty decent, but before that it was kind of hard to sleep this week, and just kind of looking forward to already the end of the month and getting into October and seeing how things kind of shake up and where I'm at with things. And yeah, it's just kind of been really nothing too much. Like you said, it's been a pretty quiet week for everything else. Really nothing else that's kind of worth mentioning, I would say. But um, yeah, here we are about a week into September already. And yeah, 2 more weeks till fall officially starts, apparently. So I kind of look at September 1st as fall, but kind of
Mhm.
call it what you want. But yeah, we're just kind of at that weird transition point right now, and just kind of weird. Kids are getting back to school and seasons are changing and so much stuff going on right now. And it's just kind of like, just waiting for that. I mean, it seems like it's going to be still kind of nice in like the 70s and stuff, but I'm interested to see, is it going to just continue to look like this? Is the sun going to kind of come back, or what are we kind of getting into this month? And what's to come with the weather and stuff. Uh, But yeah, other than that, pretty much, yeah, it should be a good episode tonight. 51, like conspiracy, talk a lot about 9/11 and things that just go along with it. Something we've talked about quite a bit. pretty much in a lot of episodes so far. So just have more outtakes on that, more input and different ways to look at things and think about things about it. But yeah, the other big thing was, I know I mentioned Denny Hamlin. I was talking about Denny Hamlin a week or two ago and about him possibly getting a win here pretty soon and him picking up a win and advancing and moving on and doing that pretty soon in the playoffs. And that's exactly what happened. Picking up his 59th win, and he might pick up his 60th win this season. He might get one more, but yeah, so he's on to the round of 12. So you have two Toyotas starting off, both Gibbs, 2 weeks in a row, picking up the win. So I think it's kind of interesting way to start the playoffs. And you got two Toyotas, two Gibbs cars moving on, and two people that I would have said would be moving on too to the round of 12. So that'll be interesting as we get into Bristol on Saturday, which is going to be the only Saturday night race in the playoffs. So the rest will be on Sundays and stuff. A lot with Bristol and Tennessee. I know we brought up before with the the William Byron Lee, and that whole baseball game that was played that we didn't even know happens there, and that was set up there. So we know there's going to be something big looming for this race, being in Bristol, Tennessee. That just being just a bigger race in the schedule. A lot of people always like Bristol and stuff. And then you have just all this everything going into it. People trying to. A lot of people are in a must-win situation to get in, or they have to hope some bad things happen, or people to advance. So it should be a very drama-filled Saturday night race from the looks of things.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And let's see if they have it updated here, just to kind of back up what's going on. Cut off. Well, Van Gisbergen's in a decent spot for having, he's in a decent spot. I think Josh Berry DNFing really helps out as well. Bowman's had two very nothing burger races. So, he's not so far out of the realm of getting past that second round. And this is, obviously when we've been honing on since midway through the season, since that Mexico race. And a lot of our successful calls have come on the back of him. So we're looking at our golden goose, and it's almost sentimentality at this point. Not that I'm into sports anymore, but I don't want to see my boy go out. He's like my baby. I was just so proud to see him do so well. And now he's sitting on the brink of elimination. And this is why, more than anything, obviously jokes aside, this is, basically it's one of our narratives that could fizzle out here. And I don't, we've had the idea that they will use Shane Van Gisbergen, and this might be for later in his career as well. But like from what we've seen, we really have a picture that they will use Shane Van Gisbergen for a road course in the playoffs, where he will either win or lose, obviously. But as far as the narrative goes, they will use that to either pin up a new, my personal guess was Ryan Blaney, but whoever, they'll use it to propel that person and say, wow, he knocked off, this guy was able to take a road course from Shane Van Gisbergen. Conversely, they could say Shane Van Gisbergen, who knows, maybe he wins next week in Bristol. That'd be amazing. And then they are, reverse, they're using him to show up all the road course or all the, oval specialists and say, hey, I can do this too, which, it would kind of help him keep pace as well with Denny Hamlin. So that's interesting. With Denny Hamlin getting the win today, he just went, he broke the tie. The tie I don't think anyone had on there before the season started. But tie for wins with SVG. So he could, retie it next week or later in the playoffs if he were to continue. But yeah, right now one of our narratives is on the brink after this race. But yeah, you nailed that. Because it's one thing to say he moves on in the playoffs; it's another to say he gets the win. And you said that I think last week for sure. Within the last 2 weeks, you said that flat out that Denny Hamlin looks like a lock for a win in the playoffs, and here we are, week 2. So it didn't take long for your call to land, and this is an ongoing narrative that we've been talking about once again since around early in the season, since the whole 23xi Trackhouse lawsuit with NASCAR, and it's just been ongoing. And that that's pretty much the only time you hear Michael Jordan's name thrown around or Denny Hamlin's name thrown around outside of a race. It all has to do with that lawsuit and everything. I mean, always has to do with the lawsuit. Also, early on, even he was even not threatening really, but he was talking retirement, that he was gonna, not finish the season, that he was gonna bow out. So, which is pretty. There's been several drivers that have said that too. Honestly, quite a few drivers have said that they were going to retire or move on to a different series. None of them have done so, but I think Kyle Larson's one of them. So there's been several like high profile drivers that have done that whole look at me, I'm about to quit. Give me, it's just like, it's almost like an annoying girlfriend that's just like attention seeking. So she's like, I'm leaving. Just so you'll be like, babe, no. But anyway, our main narrative still completely alive. It's looking like, Ryan Blaney's, I don't even think there's a chance there's no chance. He's pretty much on to the next round. And funny enough, Bubba Wallace sitting pretty. I mean, Bubba, what's funny is like we joked halfway through the season about Bubba Wallace, but then we started noticing it's like, yo, what the hell? First of all, he's pulled extremely well this year, but then on top of that, he's had extremely close calls, and he's been involved in several narratives, whether he won the race or not. And so they're definitely using him. Not to mention he's a 23xi driver, just like Reddick. And he's been in the fold with this whole thing being when that 23xi thing popped off the lawsuit, we were talking about how it's looking good for Reddick and Bubba. We weren't shying away from them. We were saying this makes it look even better. Of course, the main profiteer, you could say, has been Denny Hamlin in spades, and in another way, Joe Gibbs, right? Because you shoot two fish in the same barrel with that, because you give your old guard, old money team owner the more prestige. At the same time, you're able to carry through that narrative of the FU NASCAR through Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. So it's just like you have 3 sports in play. You have football, driving, and basketball, all combining in this one like ritual combination with Denny Hamlin, Joe Gibbs, and Michael Jordan. So they really have like something that just gives these beat writers wet dreams to write every single week about these things going on and off the course.
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of interesting narratives I see building. I mean, I know there was a little bit of, I know Larson like spun Ryan Blaney out today, so Blaney recovered pretty well. So I mean, there might be some drama going into Bristol or down the line in the playoffs about that as well. That could rear its head before the season's over, and it's yeah, and like we said with our narratives, I mean, there's a reason why, like next year, like I said, the final race is going to be back at Homestead, so that's where it was for a long time, from like 2002 to like 2016 or 2017 or maybe 20. It was maybe like 2019 or 2020. It was the last race for a long time, almost 20 years, and then they moved to Phoenix for a while, and now they're gonna move it back next year. But I mean, there's reasons why. I mean, you look at how good Penske does and Fords do at Phoenix. There's a reason why. You look who's won the first two races of the playoffs. You got Toyota and Gibbs, but Ford gets into that last race. If there's one or two cars, I mean, you got it with the way they performed at Phoenix, and they always do well. Even if they say they finish second and a non-playoff driver wins that race, I mean, whoever finishes the highest wins it. So you just see how the way it's all constructed to get what they want out of it and who they want where, and the way they can rig it and set things up. And then you have, like I said, that playoff race that's going to be a road course too with Ginsburg, and that's what's going to make this next race interesting, to see if he does surpass in that, and then if he does go on, because he could still, even if he doesn't make the playoffs, he could still win that race, and that could mess up things for the playoffs as well.
Very good point. I did not. Why was I not even thinking about that? Great point, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he could pick up a win and be one of those people I said that would possibly get a win that's not in the playoffs, because I do see that happening at least a couple times, especially with cars and guys that get eliminated. I mean, you look at every year since they've had the playoffs and stuff too with this format, every time there's been the guy who wins the last race won the championship, except for just 2 years ago, Ryan Blaney finished second, but Ross Chastain won the race, but he wasn't part of the final four. So, the championship winner was Blaney, even though he finished second. So, and maybe that'll be a narrative this year. Maybe that person will go on to win the race this year as well. Be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, Toyota and Gibbs have the momentum. But I mean, with the way things are structured and set up, I mean, that can obviously change very quickly. I mean, obviously they're both moving on to the next round, and I'm sure they'll probably both make the round of 8. But I think from there things will get a bit tricky to see who moves on. I mean, you look at the 4 guys right now on the outside looking in, and to me, it's like, based off of like the talent and kind of the way the year's gone, I'd say those 4 guys probably are you know should be or would be or could be eliminated. But there's also, whatever happens, I mean, obviously they're all going to be in a must-win type situation, or something's going to have to happen to someone in front of them that's down there. Something's going to have to happen, and they're going to have to fall out, and they're going to have a good race. So there's going to be a lot of drama for Bristol, and then when the next elimination round comes as well, whoever makes the round of 8. But yeah, I think right now, I mean, there's still a lot that can happen. There's a lot of narratives that are still alive. I mean, I don't see any reason why like Logano isn't going to be in the round of 12, and Byron and the people that you always have around there. So the guys that are kind of out right now, I kind of see that it could change. I mean, maybe someone else gets moved down there and doesn't make it. I mean, there's a couple people that are kind of down there that Ross Chastain's done pretty decent this season. He's got that win. He's been kind of doing better as of lately. I mean, Cindric, kind of has had a pretty decent season. He's got that win. So, but I mean, the points could definitely shake up in the next race, and there could be, maybe Ginsburg does just somehow make it, or maybe Austin Dillon makes it, or Bowman. I mean, Barry's kind of in a must-win situation. I'd say probably Bowman too, but
yeah, for them to really flip, they would need to not only race well, but have someone at the bottom do very poorly as well, almost not earn not earn points. So, but as far as the top 2 of the bottom 4, I would say that these are much more easily to make up. I mean, Austin Cindric and Austin Dillon have been attached at the hip. We've noticed that, the 2 Austins, but 11-point differential there, that, and even 15-point swing. I could imagine, I could see that, or what. So that's a 26 points. I mean, like I said, it would still take someone finishing well, because I mean, how many points do they really get for it? It depends on their entire race, I would assume, right, with the stages and things of that nature. But it's tough to think of Van Gisbergen all of a sudden performing really well at an oval, or but yeah, I'd say it's it's definitely possible for the top two of the bottom four.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see if because I mean even if um I'm sure Logano will have a decent race, probably Chase Elliott, because those are guys that, you might see some big names go out next round or the round of eight, the round of 12, round of eight. That's where, it starts to get dicey because you're going to have people that you maybe thought would have made it, or you maybe someone that could have been in the final four. But generally, that first round of eliminations can be somewhat more accurate as to who you think or who should be probably eliminated or shouldn't make it. So I mean, if I had to look at it right there, I mean, that's probably where I would cut the line to, and who I would say probably wouldn't be part of the round of 12. But that could definitely change at Bristol. There could be something that happens, or someone has a bad race, or someone does really well, or possibly goes on to win. So I mean, Bowman's still looking for his first win of the year, and he's going to have to get that. I mean, maybe maybe that'll be
That'd be
it.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
because him along with is he the oh, no he's not the only non-winner, is he?
Reddick hasn't won.
Oh yeah, right, that's right. Reddick and him are the only non-winners. So for him to stay alive by getting a win here, that'd be interesting. And that would, I would say that there's a chance that there's a shakeup of two playoff drivers, but it would need to go probably Bowman and Barry winning, and then some sort of pretty significant shakeup with someone here at the bottom doing very poorly, while Dylan or Van Gisbergen does very well, in order to kind of shake this up. And then that's just to leapfrog Cindric, right? Um, although if that were to, if it, things most likely aren't going to look like this at the end of next week. There's a lot of tight knit points. Um, but if there was a leapfrog situation, it'd be Austin Cindric is the odd man out at this point.
Yeah, I'd say or Chastain, but yeah, those would be the two people in my mind. And Chastain's been in the final four. He was in the final four in 2022. I think he finished second to Logano, and then like I said, he did win Phoenix just 2 years ago. So he's someone that could possibly, if he's in the final four or not in the final four, he might be a threat to win Phoenix as well, the final race, since he has done well there before. Can't remember how far he made it last year where he was, but yeah, he's kind of someone that's kind of maybe one of the more quieter people this year. I mean, Reddick too. Reddick's without that win, I've been wondering too, is he gonna get that win at some point? And it's just, it gets down to the end of the year. You just keep thinking, man, how many more new winners are you going to get? How many new people are going to get it? And then is it going to be someone that's in the playoffs, someone that's not? So there's still a lot of time for a lot to happen with 8 races to go. But yeah, I mean, if I had to cut the first 4 guys out, I mean, that's who and how I would do it. Just based off of what I've seen, and then the next 12. It'll be interesting because I mean I don't see necessarily like Logano and like Chase Elliott and those guys going out in the next round, around a 12. But I mean maybe they do, or one of those guys does. But those are people you just typically, and in Chase Elliott too. He's only got 1 win this year as well. So you got to wonder, is he going to get another win? So you got a couple guys in there that haven't won at all, and you got some guys that have only won like 1 time. So and the next win, that could propel you, depending on when you get it. That could be the reason you win the championship. It's like what happened to Logano last year. Like he wasn't even like part of it. Then bam, he gets that win, and then just sets him up, and then he goes on, does really well. And So it's just it really just comes down to timing too. I mean, when someone's doing good or doing bad, or when you win, and then who you knock out, and who's available, who's left. So yeah, there's a lot of all of our narratives that we've been talking about all year are still alive and still um, looking well. I mean, like Logano's been doing better. He's been up front pretty much every week the last few weeks, whether he gets the finish that he should get or not. I mean, everyone we've been mentioning, yeah, Blaney and stuff, and then kind of him and Larson got that kind of somewhat maybe something coming at Bristol or something coming down the road where those two get together and tangle or something. So that's the potential rivalry or narrative coming up as well.
And it is quite interesting. There's a chance for a Joe Gibbs three-peat as well.
Yeah.
And it would be, what's even more interesting is the driver to do it would be Christopher Bell, who already hit the three-peat this year. So you could ring that bell for Joey Gibbs too. But something I noticed, I don't know if you saw this headline. This is something we have got to pay attention to.
Oh, yeah, I heard that 200th win for Toyota. Yep.
So next Toyota Cup win is 201, and
and we've Dakota, I believe Bristol, or some way we've put Bristol before as 201. So
I'm pretty sure Bristol, Tennessee is 201.
Yeah, I think it's a couple 201s the way we've put it. I think there's two in there.
Bristol, Tennessee, 201.
They also call it Thunder Valley too.
Thunder Valley. Get out of here. Thunder Valley.
59.
I wonder why they call it Thunder Valley. But I know one, if you guys have been following us, or if you guys don't skip our beginning NASCAR conversations from early on, we were able to really, we weren't ahead of it, but our hindsight kind of led to having some amount of foresight with this particular driver, William Byron. And it was a huge revelation that we made, and this is back in the time of hurricanes and cold weather. And at that time, if you guys have forgotten, there was 3 states that got slammed by a tropical storm, not tropical storm, a hurricane, tornadoes, blizzard type events, overnight, flash freezing, insane amounts of things that hit these 3 states. But the state that got hit the hardest happened to be Tennessee. Now, I think it was Tennessee, Virginia. There was one other state. Anyway, 3 states got hit pretty hard with this storm. That now we went and looked it up. Tennessee got hammered. Their whole, like, parts of Tennessee were absolutely destroyed, overnight frozen. People were, pipe mains were freezing out or busting up, and the whole, roads in the city were just completely flooded and then freezing overnight. They were talking about death tolls and everything. But the 2, Virginia and the other state, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It might have been a Carolina, one of the 2, but they issued state of emergencies to Donald Trump. Help us, help us. And so, we were right on that. We were like, this looks like this has something to do with NASCAR, with this race. And so we're looking it up. We're like, Virginia? Does anyone have ties to Virginia? Does anyone have ties to the other state? We're looking up the governor, and we found out interesting things. The 2 governors that issued state of emergencies had very interesting numbers and stuff. These are rituals that are happening for their, these negative things that affect them. That's what propels them forward. It's not, it's usually notoriety that gets people pushed in the propaganda machine, not generally, good deeds. So So there's the, so we're looking it up because it's like headline news, 2 states issue states of emergency. But we're sitting there thinking, it's like every time we look up an article, it's like Tennessee. It's like, damn, what about Tennessee? They're getting absolutely hammered and no state of emergency. And a day later, still no state of emergency. They never issued a state of emergency for Tennessee. And the governor that did not issue a state of emergency was, soft spoken, just everybody's favorite governor, Bill Lee. Just Bill Lee. Nothing to think about there. Bill Lee, who cares? What are you gonna say about that? But if you guys don't know, what I say all this to say, his name is William Byron Lee. And who won, that Sunday? Or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Sunday. Was William Byron, and I could pull it all the way back up. I might as well for this point of reference, or I can just go driver averages. Let's go wins. This was pretty early on in the season.
This was the 500, the first race.
Yep. Oh, yes. Oops, I didn't mean to click Daytona. So yes, he wins February 16th. So yeah, like I said, it wasn't still in the cold time. So yeah, he won the first race on the back of Tennessee. William Byron, and of course, the revelation was hilarious. If you guys found the heart to go back and watch that episode, even just for our revelation, it was a good time because it was so vindicating to see, because we were looking for it and everything. We could smell it. We were just like, where is it? What is going on here? It's got to have something to do with this. And then we come upon that, and we, because it was inconspicuous. It's Bill Lee. We're looking up. Oh, we're making jokes. We're just like, oh, Billy boy, Billy. And then we finally see his full name, and we're just like, jaws hit the floor. We're just like, oh, no way. So from then on, we've seen that these guys are, tied together, and that goes for his second win. Just not that long ago in August at Iowa. Now, how does Bill Lee play into that? This is something that, man, we would have seen if we just like somehow had our finger to the pulse, or you guys did, and you were able to see it and alert us to this. Enough eyes and ears on this, knowing the Bill Lee connection, someone would have spotted this. But Bill Lee, they had at Bristol Motor Speedway, what do they call it? MLB track night or something like that. What was it?
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It was
Speedway Classic. So look at this, guys. When was the Speedway Classic? August 3rd. Wait a minute. Isn't that when William Byron was racing in Iowa? And so what's even more funny is this track, it was the Braves and Cincinnati Reds. I mean, down to the score. We decoded this. So if you guys go back to August 3rd and watch our episode on that, we decode this down to the score. It has, I think the score had a correlation with William Byron Lee and things of that nature. Let's see if it shows the score. Just says they defeated them. Okay, great, thank you. But yeah, so yeah, he was hosting. He was there. By the way, he was there. He was there as governor in the stands, shaking hands, hosting this Speedway Classic as William Byron wins in Iowa. Just, I mean, guys. And we just missed it. We honestly just missed this fact too. And if we would have known, we would have, bet the house on Byron. But so I point that out because for William Byron, they're going back to Bristol. And that's Bill Lee town. That's Bill Lee territory. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at the race. I would not be surprised if he's at the race. And, just based on that alone, if we were to somehow hit some wild three-peat not that we hit the first two, but we've noticed that trend. And if we were to be able to call this third race based on that, that would be something else. So that's something to pay attention to for sure. And in just in saying that, I'm going to, do some due diligence and look it up right now. But what do you think moving into this do you think there's a chance for that?
Yeah, William Byron will be real interesting to watch in this race for that reason too. And another thing too, like I did hear, like I said in the highlights, when I was looking at that it was Toyota's 200th win. And it was interesting too, like you brought up, if Christopher Bell does win here at Bristol, he could pick up the 201st win for Toyota, and that's what we're. There was a big 201 ritual back in Dover a few months ago. We were on top of that, looked like it was going to come through a couple different times in the race, and for whatever reason did not. But that was a massive 201. It was 201st race on the 201st day of the year, and that was the way that played out. And we thought that seemed like it was almost certainty. And there's been a lot of 201s this year that have came through. And there's been a lot of 201s that we looked at and seen and thought that, man, it's like, how did that not come through? Why did that not come through? And that was one of them. So here's a second chance for the 20 car with 200 wins for Toyota. You could, in the 20, he could get the 201st win for Toyota at Bristol. So it'll be interesting to see who does get the 201st win for Toyota. I'm sure Toyota is going to win again this year. I don't think it's just going to be Chevy Ford for the last 8 races, but yeah, it's there's a few ways I see it going. I mean, and like I said, I won't be surprised if they break the streak up a little bit. They give maybe Byron the win or something, or maybe he's their top performing Hendrick car. Because I know Larson had that big 201 ritual this year that came through, and with all the 201s and everything, and he hasn't won in a while, and he did win Bristol earlier. Mm-hmm. So he does have that kind of slight rivalry right now, that issue with Blaney. So maybe that's gonna rear its head at Bristol or something, or maybe he breaks that winless streak, kind of gets back in there or something. So yeah, this will be a real interesting race. And like I said, it's the only night race, the only Saturday race in the playoffs. So I'm kind of looking for, like I said, kind of just that more. Always with these eliminations, there's going to be drama, and there's going to be something. So I could see a lot of different narratives playing out. I wouldn't be surprised if a Ford wins or something too, just to give them a little momentum right now or something. Because they've been doing well, but I mean, I do expect them to peak, obviously, like I said, for that last race and just kind of the end of the year. But it'll be interesting to see how they sprinkle in the wins and get the playoffs moving, especially after this round of elimination. Because the 4 guys and like I said, unless Bowman or something, I mean, maybe Bowman gets his win and he gets in or something, and it really shakes things up. But I mean, kind of when you get down to the last 12, 8, that's when it starts to, you start moving out guys that you think might have a shot at the championship or be in the final 4. So that'll be when things really start getting interesting here the next few weeks or a month or so.
What's interesting too is it just noticing that, Bristol, Tennessee equals 66 too. And, Denny's next win, I guess I didn't really mention that. A driver 2-peating for Joe Gibbs would also be a 3-peat for Joe Gibbs. It wouldn't need to be Christopher Bell. And if Denny Hamlin were to win another one, that'd be his 60th win and his 6th win this season.
Yep.
So interesting to note. Seeing if there's any major red flags here. Wow, since Billy's last birthday was 333 days. You know what's interesting about that? November 29th. It's 300. We've talked about this multiple times, but William Byron's born on the 333rd day of the year.
Yep, November 29th.
And it's 333 days after. Oh, wait, never mind. Sorry, guys. It's Saturday, right? This next race. Okay, that's what I need to be doing. Okay, my bad. Well, that's still a fact, but not the 333. Okay, I'll go back and check. Do have that 216 again, though. 2 months, 16 days, like 666. It's 266 times 6 times 6. 11 weeks exactly. After the 11 car wins. About his last birthday. What was October 9th for Billy? Sorry about that, guys. Okay. 339 days from his last birthday. It'll be 26 days from his birthday. His birthday just around 3 weeks away, or 3.5 weeks.
No arbitrary numbers involved here.
I think Saturday has that 35, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, 53. That's what it was, yeah. But Saturday is 10/109, like Bill Lee's birthday, 10/9, October 9th. Interesting. Oh, and there's 109 days left in the year. Okay. Okay. I'm writing that one down. See, Billy, 10/9, 9/13, 109 left.
Maybe Billy is going to be the Grand Marshal.
That'd be
Gentlemen, for
hilarious.
William Byron, start your engine.
Yeah. No, different. The other William Byron. Oh, sorry. What else was I noticing from Byron's last win, which was Iowa, August 3rd? Oh yeah, that's why that 83 looked interesting. Yeah, he's born on the day, leaving 83 days left in the year, and Byron's last win was August 3rd. So yeah, that. I think we might have pointed that out, but that's another tell for why Bill Lee was in the news on 8-3. Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. 8-3. Oops. So it'll be 41 days from his last win. 5 weeks, 6 days, like 56 in NASCAR. Well, no, NASCAR's 43. That's right. But then NASCAR is that 20, like the 20 car as well.
Yep.
So that could be a sign for Bell. But I don't know. I think there's some interesting numbers pointing to the governor, that's for sure. The governor. Well, let's go outside looking in. Let's take a look at let's take a look at Bowman. April 25th. $141 from 20 weeks and 1 day
Oh,
from his last birthday. So that's very interesting. Obviously, what I'm referencing is the 201, like Bristol, Tennessee, Jesuit
a
order,
must-win
obviously.
situation.
I mean, even the 4, that's a little bit of a stretch, but April 19th is a very important day to the Jesuits as well. So
Yeah, I
that's
don't think that's a
interesting.
stretch at all. I mean, in the fact he hasn't won all year too. It's just one of these people you're just and he drives for Hendrick, so it's like, well, are you going to be the only Hendrick guy who doesn't get a win, or
Yeah, true. That's also, certainly that's a something fun they could do. Is it's something they could like you're talking about. It's just the drama. It's a way for them to have like an interesting type of milestone thing happen um, in the midst of what looks to be generally like you know all's pretty much playing out as you would expect. But for Bowman, they like to do that. Every stage of certain things that you mentioned it. Oh, that's what I was going to say on the back of what you were saying earlier is, they do like to do that. They like to what they like to, the first rounds of things, especially they'll say, this makes sense to anybody following the sport. They'll say this makes sense. And what that does is it adds like legitimacy to the competition. They'll say, no, this is about how it should play out. These guys are about where they are compared to these guys. And you might have some variance where these guys are sitting technically, but other than that, most people would agree with these 4 out, which is funny too because I don't think you mentioned it, but I think 3 weeks ago or something like that, we were talking before the episode about the playoffs, and I think you had this 4. I just think maybe it wasn't Van Gisbergen. That was maybe the only one that was different, but you like listed these 4 as probably the first 4 out. So that's just, that's funny. Your predictions easily could still land. I think it was probably either Chastain or I don't remember. Maybe Bubba was. I don't know. I can't remember who else you had in the bottom 4. Maybe it was Cindric, but that seems to be playing out. But yeah, they do like to add that air of legitimacy, just like if you think about college basketball, it's like the Cinderella is a rarity. That's what when it happens, it's very rare, and it adds that excitement level. Just like even in NFL or even in the NBA, it's just like most times the most you'll shakeups you'll get is like the 4 beating the 5, which is like, or I mean the 5 beating the 4, which is like people can understand that. They'll say, "Oh, those guys were really close because 5 is next to 4." It's just like, "Oh, I'm smart," but but yeah, I think where you could really get a lot of variances within the next few rounds, obviously. But if you were to get something like exciting out of each round, that is definitely a narrative. Van Gisbergen making it through, also Bowman getting a win. Uh, to not only even Barry getting a win, technically
yeah,
that could be that excitement as well. And if Barry were to get a win and Cindric were to stay in and have all the Fords preserved, that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. But yeah, let me take a quick look at our boy. So yeah, this is the birthday of Bowman. So he's 20 weeks in a day at Bristol, Tennessee, 201. I think we've looked at his name before. These people with their humongous names. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He has the 129, like the 201 in base 8. His full name. I think we've definitely mentioned that before. And what's Bowman sitting at? forget how many wins he has. He'd be looking for his 9th win. His last win was July 7th, 7-7. The 177th day in the year, huh? That's a interesting one. And for anybody that's just like, I guess we should provide some clarity on this. We found these calling cards in every single race, whether it's the track, the driver, both, the city, the suburb, the town that's on the outskirts of the other city. The Jesuits have, the Catholic Church and Jesuits, their network has their numbers imprinted on this sport. And when I say imprinted, I mean it's like the Masons do. These are on the cornerstones to these racetracks, because they've thought ahead of time where to put these places, where to put these tracks, what little suburb, city type thing they're going to put them in strategically in order to imprint their numbers, the Freemasons and Jesuits. And we found their connections just going, all across the country with all these races. But 177 is interesting to us because that's a huge number with the Jesuit order. Obviously, 201, we talk about that quite often here. That's what the big fuss was about Bristol, Tennessee being 201, but also Alex Bowman from his birthday being 20 weeks and a day, like a lot like 201. And then obviously his last win coming on a day that left 177 days left in the year. Okay. Where was I? So that's a bit interesting. Oh yeah. The other thing is sponsors. There's quite a lot to keep track of in NASCAR, which is funny because if you quote me earlier in the season, I was saying, I think it was when we were on like a little bit of a streak where we got like, I don't know, we got quite a few races in just a few weeks called, and I was like, man, this stuff is easy. I mean, and it very well could be relatively easy compared to other sports. We've talked about this multiple times, but the more you look at it, the more there is a lot of moving parts. And the way they do it is it's rather not frustrating, but it's rather kind of secretive. A lot of times you don't find the sponsorship until the day of or the day before. You don't find, obviously there's the poll that matters, and that's the day before. So they have a way of doing this to where it's really hard to spot the narrative necessarily earlier in the week, or maybe the narrative's not even there earlier in the week. And when I say narrative, I mean the ritual. I should be saying ritual because the narrative is there, but the ritual is sometimes hard to put your finger on and track. Whereas the narrative is something that we feel like we've been nipping at its heels all season long, and like you put it pretty well, that we still have all of our narratives alive technically, and our major one is still very alive.
Yeah, I mean, all those 201s. I mean, like I said, this year we've had 201s that a lot of them that came through, and a lot of them that didn't come through, and obviously with Kyle Larson being that 201, and he won Bristol this year with the 201s there, and then the big 201 at the Kansas race, and then that other 20, I think that was the other. I think those are the two big 201s for him this year. I don't know if there was like another 201 ritual in the other one that he also won as well. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, we've had some pretty good 201s come through. Like I said, that Christopher Bell one, that was probably the biggest one of the year that I can think of or remember that did not come through. That looked like it was going to come through and should have came through, but was just really weird. And And there's a couple other 201s too that also didn't, but that kind of fizzled out. That looked like there's something there. But yeah, I mean, it's just that's just the thing. It's just because it's it's Kansas and it's a certain sponsored race. The Shriners one that was it with
Mm-hmm.
Larson and all the 201s and Sabu dying with in his name equaling 201 that went into it, and we didn't know that until after the race the next day when we looked at the race, we didn't know Sabu was dead. Then we came back at it the next week and added that Sabu and a Sabu's name equals 201, just like Kyle Larson's name equals 201, and the Shriners event was 201, and with all the 201s and stuff. And um,
Yeah, Venice race at Adventist Medical Center Association 201, and
yeah, yeah, and it's just it's just because it's like, oh, we're going to Bristol and it's Kyle Larson. I mean, that doesn't mean that it's he's gonna win. It's gonna be a I mean, especially since he won there last time, I mean, he might double down and and sweep the Bristol races and get his fourth win of the season. But, it doesn't mean just because there's that 201 narrative there and that possibility that for sure is going to happen, that sure is going to, play out like that. But, uh, and yeah, there's gonna be. I mean, and like I said, with him and kind of Blaney and stuff around, and who knows, there might be. I'm sure there's going to be short track, tempers and drama. So there's going to be more of that in this race, and yeah, they're setting the stage for something real interesting for this one. That's for sure.
absolutely. And just taking a peek at Bell here from his last win was 188 days ago, which is an interesting number for multiple reasons. It's like the US dollar denominations.
That's how many laps are like the Talladega races are like 188 laps, or at least they used to be. I don't know if they still are, but
That's
and
something to keep
Talladega's
in
coming
mind.
up too.
Yeah. It's like jumping off the page of me about Christopher Bell. Could be obviously something, sponsorship wise, or remains to be seen. He is that, obviously he's that. What narrative wise is like, the numbers aren't jumping off the page, but the narrative for him to pick up a three-peat for Joe Gibbs Racing in the first round, that would be very, very funny and fitting. I could easily see that happening for sure, just because he's the three-peat winner, and yeah, that Shriners race was, man, we were on top of that. If you guys haven't seen that one, it's just, man, yeah, we didn't predict the winner. I'm not saying. Oh no, we did. Yeah, no, we did. We definitely called Bell's three-peat. On top of that, we were talking about how we were seeing a Hiram Abiff ritual potential with, if anyone doesn't know the story, there's like the three ruffians that approach Hiram Abiff and tell him to give him the secrets of uh the mysteries, and he refuses, blah blah blah. So there's the theme of three plays out a lot. Obviously Freemason 33 is a huge number, being the the Master Mason number, as well as lots of, I can get into blah blah blah. But Joe Gibbs equals 33, Gibbs equals 33. On top of that, I mentioned Bubba being prevalent in multiple other rituals. Keep in mind, guys, I mean, this shit was hilarious. This is the Shriners 400. This is literally hosted by Master Masons, Master Freemasons. This is who's sponsoring the race, and the only black guy and the only female racing crash and DNF together, when historically Freemasonry has been a white male only. Uh, I mean, it's just too good. It's honestly too good. Of course, you have the Order of the Eastern Star and the Boulay / Prince Hall Freemasons, but Come on, the joke there was just we were cracking up. I mean, that shit was so funny. But I mean, even like mid race, I believe we broke it down the Hiram Abiff ritual they were able to do in a on a track. So if anyone's not familiar with it's funny because we were always talking about Denny Hamlin, but the Damar Ham. So seeing D Hamlin all the time is always almost a throwback to the Damar Hamlin incident for the Bills when he collapsed on the field, and you had 33 or you had Neil. Neil. It's hilarious, guys. Zach has great. Zach did an excellent breakdown of the Damar Hamlin situation. I mean that's like generational. That needs to be taught in schools. But of course, it probably will never happen. But like that, his video on the Damar Hamlin situation, I mean, that should be millions of views. I mean, that in and of itself has the power to wake a lot of people up, especially the football dunce cap wearers. But unfortunately, that's just not the way the algorithm works. But similar to that, they're able to put these Hiram Abiff rituals right in front of people's faces, and last year was honestly a year of rituals in people's faces down to I mean, was it last year or was it the year before? Was it the Olympics last year? What was, yeah, 2024. Oh, yeah. So there was the Olympics. So they had that, crazy like Last Supper with all the gays and trannies and wearing no clothes. And like, you remember that? And, there was another thing that was like super obvious. I mean, if you guys don't remember when Damar Hamlin came back, he was wearing that like Jesus hanging like upside down or something like that on a it's crazy what they do with this stuff, guys. It's obviously all ritual, it's all symbolic, and you don't need to know all the ins and outs. I mean, let me clear this up. We are searching, we're looking, and we're trying to figure this out. It's not only fun. I think there's like some catharsis, and I don't know, it gives us somewhat of a sense of purpose. Not to say that our purpose is this. We definitely have, a higher calling and purpose, I believe, than just, crunching necessarily the numbers of NASCAR. But it does prove and show. Well, I don't know how deep I want to go in on it, but anyway, let's just drop it before I wasted a half an hour just spilling over into things that aren't NASCAR. But I do think that this is it's something that if you enjoy it, look to do it, go for it. But you guys don't need to know how to do any kind of like searching. A lot of this stuff is surface level. Like that's why I think, especially for me, and not especially for me in Austin, but for me in Austin, why we talk about that, what separates us from what we consider, not to be demeaning or anything, but like the chaff, like the people that just can't see the things that are right there. Because it's not it's not the triangular numbers that are the groundbreaking, like, whoa, I didn't know the triangular number matched. That's not what's going to get you to wake up. These things, you need to wake up to the obvious stuff that's going right off in your face. And then you can enjoy seeing through the ritual. You don't need to see through the ritual to wake up. That was a succinct way of putting it. I know I stumbled a little bit there, my bad, guys, but that's what I really mean by it. Is that's not to demean the work or anything. The work is profoundly important. I'm just saying, for the average person, they just need to wake up on the obvious.
Yeah, and it's just and I see it all the time too. I mean, I seen this stuff when I was a kid. I mean, I seen right through NASCAR and football and wrestling and stuff. I mean, I could see how, fake, rigged, and scripted it was back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s. I mean, I could see through it. I mean, it was obvious, but and it's only gotten more obvious as time has gone on. But I mean, there's so much to just look at and see, um, and it used to. I mean, it used to be a lot more. Um, I mean, even though I could see it as a kid, I mean, there was a lot more to it then. You know, it wasn't. Just everything now is just it's just become so watered down. We were talking this before we got on here tonight. Just like look at the state of NASCAR. Everybody hates NASCAR, or they hate the Sprint Cup. But look what everyone's saying in wrestling. Oh, I hate wrestling. It's so stupid. And what's everyone saying in football? Oh, I hate football. It's so stupid. It's everyone just is just downplaying. Whatever they're in, whether it's NASCAR, wrestling, football, they're hating it. They're talking it down. They're saying how much it sucks. Like they're protesting it. Like that's just the state of where we are. I mean, things weren't like this 25, 30 years ago at all. It was the exact opposite. But back then, I mean, things were still kind of competitive with stuff. It was still kind of fun. It was still kind of interesting and fun to watch. And it still kind of seemed like there was kind of the people that kind of should still somewhat be winning or on top, or things kind of seemed kind of right. But you just see what things have become over time, and you just see where things are at now. I mean, it's everything plays into one. I mean, there's reasons why all these people are saying these things right now. These things are coming out. I mean, look at Connor Zillitz in the Xfinity. I mean, just killing it. I mean, absolutely killing it. I mean, 10 wins in his career. He got 1 win last year. He's got 9 this year. I mean, with the way it's going, he's the 8 races to go. He's probably going to win 5, 6 of the last 8. He's probably going to finish the season with 14, 15 wins. Half the season he's going to win. I mean, when do you ever see things like this and somebody this young? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yep, and unfortunately, I mean, huh? I wonder if he still races for this particular sponsor. Just a triple-headed horse is a little. Anyway, uh, unfortunately, like I was saying, we've definitely honed in on his signing on the line, and him pretty much. And you mentioned it too that he's destined for Cup Series next year, and that's going to be very interesting. But it's at the same time, these things have to happen. Just like in the NBA, it's just like you have these rookies come in and these young kids come in, and these guys are signed on the line sometimes in high school, let alone, especially if they went to like prep schools and things of that nature, like, in like high, these Catholic prep schools, Jesuit prep schools, where they're scouting kids at 16, um, you know, Manchurian them through to, to be a star in the college, and then uh, whatever professional league. But I mean, this guy, we've talked about it multiple times, or since 2 weeks ago, when it seems that he definitely did his first on stage performance with him breaking his collarbone, so-called breaking his collarbone with a pretty, what looked to me to be a choreographed fall, where he put his foot into the netting of his driver door, and before that they were doing their whole ritual with they like to do, where they throw sometimes it's beer. I'm sure it's not beer for him, it's probably Red Bull, with him not being even 21 yet. But and then he gets up on the car to kind of like do his pose thing, and he starts to fall, and he says it because it was all wet and everything like that. But I don't know, it to me he slowed down. I was able to see, obviously it could have happened, sure, but I think he had the directive to take a big fall and stumble there. It's almost all like, make an ass out of yourself, if to show that you're, you know joining the cause. Like, this is your shaming ritual. You gotta hurt yourself though. Like, you gotta slam yourself down on this is your big win and everything. And then you just imagine the the gasps as everybody gets pictures of him looking, just looking at, absolutely slamming into the asphalt. Well, did that slow him down? No. He luckily, of course, he does that right before they have a week off, so he gets a 2-week period to heal up. Comes back, starts the race. his his replacement finishes the race and still wins, and then he's just right back at it. Just win. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, it seems to be that he's paid he paid what he thinks it potentially is his due to be on the big stage. But unfortunately for Connor, he either knows or doesn't know that there's a lot more to be paid. And it's interesting to maybe go and look at his background as well. For all we know, he's already paid something else as well, um, a loved one or something of that nature. But it'd be interesting, to see where that goes, because this is a very Masonic uh, boys club sport. And so yeah, as much as you can sit here and say, oh man, this guy's killing and everything, it's just like he's winning races in the subdivision of a major league, of a major sport. Is that really worth selling your soul? No, but I think it's pretty obvious he has. And we'll see what that pays dividends for him next year, because it's certainly paying off this year.
Yeah, because like we said, I mean, that fall is at Watkins Glen. That's where he got his first win last year. He got only one win last year, and that's where it was at the road course, Watkins Glen. And then he finally gets a second win somewhere this year. He doubles down, wins his second race at Watkins Glen, so he sweeps the Glen 2 years in a row, and that's where he has his fall, his little stage collapse or whatever that was, and yeah, and that's why it's like, hey, you want to win Watkins Glen, get your first win 2024. You want to come back next year in 2025 and do it again and get two in a row and sweep it. Well, if you sweep it, we give you two in a row. You gotta do this for us, and then you're gonna be out for a week or two, and then you're gonna be right back at it winning. So yeah, it's just yeah, and that was already a while ago too, and that's just the thing. I mean, the way these things happen, the way they go about stuff like this, and the way they draw this stuff up. I mean, like I said, someone I didn't even know about him last year. I didn't even know about this guy till like recently. Just all the winning he's been doing and who he is and how young he is, and just coming out of nowhere and um, being the only guy that can really defeat Ginsburg, at least in the Xfinity series, and just of course him driving that 88 and just everything. And yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's the thing. I mean, if you're sitting here watching this, I mean, you got to go, man, how is this 19-year-old kid just killing it, crushing it? I mean, this hard. I mean, no one can stop him. He can't even, like, even if he gets injured, he's still winning. I mean, uh, then you got what everyone's saying, top of line from the Cup Series. I mean, it really is. It's just a massive litmus test, see where people are at too. Because I mean, that's why you got all the guys coming out, bad mouthing the sport and saying how bad it is, how much they hate it, and yeah, they're making the races. I mean, look how many times this year too. Whoever starts first goes on to win and stuff, and um, so you have a lot of your reasons. You got people that are unhappy with the sport and hate the sport, and or they're trying to say things, but then look at, I mean, people still, I mean, Bristol being the type of race it is, people are going to be packed in for that Saturday night, waiting for that one as well, and as well as the rest of these playoff races. So it's like, yeah, how much can we badmouth and talk down and trash the sport, yet fans and people still keep coming? And then how much winning can Connor do? How much can we give him? How much can he dominate? And people are going to keep liking him or hating him or getting sick of it, or it's like, oh, they're tired of watching it because he's always winning. So it's like they're just kind of seeing where people are at and what people will take, and it's just obvious. It's just so obvious when you look at it. I mean, when you see how they go about this stuff and how they, um, and then just like I said, I mean, next year with him going into the Cup Series, I mean, uh, or if he might have a couple more races in the Cup this year. I know he's had a couple starts, but when he goes full time and stuff, I mean, I'm sure that's gonna lead to a whole bunch of other things, and um, yeah, and then of course I'm sure there's going to be other changes to the sport next year, and they're going to change this, change that. There's always things that they're changing too. People either like it or don't like it, or it's like, oh, we'll change this, but it just gets worse, or people aren't going to like it, but they'll change it, and then people just kind of get used to it over time. So yeah, that's just what they do. I mean, that's all sports. That's all things. If you pay attention, things are always changing, and it's just all a big script, a big show. And like I said, that's why you have things, like WWE has a draft, or the WWF, then it became WWE, and they had a draft, Raw, SmackDown, and so the NFL has a draft, NASCAR, the cars draft and stuff, and the football playoffs, the NFL always had the playoffs, and then all NASCAR, they're gonna make a playoffs. So you got drafts, and wrestling, and football, and you got NASCAR drafts. You're in the draft, you're drafting somebody, and then you got playoffs and football and NASCAR, and just all these things they do and change and twist to compare things or make things different or change things. So you just see why everything is the way it is, and um, yeah, it's like I was saying, that's why you have the last race at Phoenix for certain reason why it's gonna go to Homestead next year, and just they have these things planned out for who's going to win and how people are going to win and when they're going to win. It's just a big show. It just keeps going on, and Saturday will come and go, and like I said, I'm sure it's going to be a packed place. But like I said, it's as long as they keep pulling off these events and stuff, and people are still going to keep going. They're going to keep watching the races. They're going to stay tuned. I mean, people, whether people even have the money and stuff to go, because it's just they make it to be that big of a deal. It's just what they do with things. Um, and some people have. There's always kind of been NASCAR fans everywhere and stuff, or fans of wrestling or football or whatever. And some people, maybe they become fans or they don't, or they fall away, or maybe they stop watching for a while. Maybe they change teams or drivers or sports or something, but they always find ways to get people tuned in and joining in, and find ways to get people interested some way, somehow.
Absolutely, and it's that merry-go-round that's a propaganda merry-go-round type of cycle, keep a loop people get stuck in. And I mentioned, I think last week, the holiday cycle, how it's kind of like a people base their year on, it's like days since and days till holidays.
Oh yeah,
Very similar with sports. They have it set up to be that way. It's there's barely any overlap between sports, and how many sports are there. But and just like a little quick look up, it is the Bass Pro Shops, which, by the way, we've done a pretty good deep dive on. I wouldn't say a deep dive, but we've mentioned pretty heavily the Memphis, uh, Tennessee Bass Pro Shop Pyramid, and that's who sponsors this race. And that are there any current drivers sponsored by Bass Pro Shops? I can't remember which ones they are. There's definitely a few that, or a couple that are sponsored by Bass Pro Shops, but it's interesting to kind of look that up and see where that lands. But you mentioned that it's called Thunder Valley, and look at the Bass Pro Shops 167, 67, just like Thunder Valley.
yeah.
So a fitting place to hold this race with that sponsor. I guess this is easy enough. Who
Chase Briscoe. I think Austin Dillon does too. Those two for sure.
Austin Dillon. Yep, absolutely. And Briscoe. Absolutely good, dude. Good shit, dude. Well, Dillon's sitting dead last on the, as far as the still on the inside. Let's take a quick look at Dillon and Briscoe real quick. That's piquing my interest here. Briscoe all of a sudden doing very well. Go second this race too.
It's interesting too. A lot of drivers won their first race at Bristol. Kurt Busch in 2002, and then there's been a lot of others. But Dale Earnhardt won his first race at Bristol, and Austin Dillon drives the 3 cars. So
Mm.
he did just win Richmond back to back, and that's a short track as well. So you don't count Austin out.
93 days from his birthday, or till his birthday. From his last birthday was 272 days.
Like Saturday, Saturnalia.
Saturn.
Yep.
With the 93. Absolutely. Yep. That's kind of what I was initially thinking, is that Saturn, Saturday connection. What else is Saturn? Oh, yeah, it's like Jesuit. That's right.
An Illuminati 69.
Or Austin.
Yep.
And speaking of the other Bass Pro Shops driver, there's Austin Dillon. Who's right on the cusp right now, April 27th birthday.
And Austin Cindric had a win on his birthday because Austin.
Of course. And he's got the 139. Of course, we've been going on and on about Freemasonry. 139, big number with them. Born on the 117th day in the year. Okay. Until his next birthday, 226. $32 weeks and 2 days. Interesting. Good to see that 322. It's been a while. My little tag is bowls and scones, a little play on Skull and Bones. Funny that 322 pops up. Okay, well. Austin Dillon was at that 51 we were talking about. Yeah, he's very. Get the Illuminati 150 in his name.
Yep.
The Illuminati created by a Jesuit, Adam Weishaupt. So not arbitrary. And who else we were talking about? Good old Chase Briscoe.
There used to be a Chase Austin too, or Austin Chase. So it's like Lake Speed. They love these names.
Okay. Chase Briscoe's got the 53, like Saturday. Also the 107. And the Saturday's a good day for Chase Briscoe. Maybe that's why he pulled so well this year. Because they happen on Saturday. That's kind of interesting now that I think about it. He's just a Saturday driver. It's because he's a Virgo. No, I'm just kidding. People will say shit like that. And I'm just like, yo. Oh, what happened here? Oh, okay. I guess it like reset. Well, very interesting. Very interesting. So I would say keep an eye out for William Byron, just narrative based. Like, see how he's racing too. Like, obviously, look at the poll coming up this week. That could be a pretty big tell. But just keep that in the back of your head, especially if you're able to watch the race. If Homeboy shows up, if the governor's there, if the governor shows up, it makes things a lot more interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
as far as that, like you've said, there's the Larson Blaney drama. They're kind of building the two smallest men in racing, who have the most to say every week. I've talked about this several times. When I catch little articles after races, Blaney and Larson are always dropping like curse words on the mic and like heated about something. And half the time I found out it's been like their fault. Like they apologize for it later and say, "Oh, I watched the film and yeah, I made a bad move there." Like they always come back and do that. But like the day of when they lose, they're fuming, and they're just like, So yeah, to get them both going at it, that's an interesting dynamic, and interested to see where
That's
that.
what Larson was saying today. He's like, I just made a mistake. That was my bad, you know. And then
That's what he was saying 2 weeks ago. Remember when I said that? It was like when I talked to you about how I figured out how lanes work and certain things like that. He was catching a lot of flack from Eric Jones because
yeah,
he was like bumping him like a lot or hard or whatever. But anyway, anything to win. I mean, Briscoe's got 3 playoff stage wins too. Like he's doing very well.
yeah.
Like he's hot. Like dude, if you were to like say that who's the hottest driver right now in the playoffs, it's definitely him. I mean,
And
just
that's
Joe
kind of been
Gibbs.
the same with qualifying this year too. I mean, he's been a qualifying machine.
They do like to do that, and I will say this: that does leave you open for the fall. Like when the cool off period. That think about it. You'll have play. Think of Gonzaga in I'll bring it back to college basketball. Gonzaga always is like undefeated until the tournament, and then they get upset. So it doesn't pay to do all your winning early. In fact, if you were to lose that one game at the beginning of the season, you'd probably still win the championship. But no, if you lose in the tournament, you're out. So they could be setting that up too. Is like you have this really hot driver, but he'll fizzle in like the second, third round. I could see that happening. Um, yeah, really interesting. I don't know if we'll see if Chastain can hold. I could see him holding on. He's got a decent edge in points, but like I mean, you win and you win a couple stages, you're getting what like somewhere around like 30 something points. So these things can shake up rather easily. And you look at a Barry, you look at the DNFs too. It's just you crash, you're you can't really guarantee anything after you if you can't finish, especially if you're not winning stages. So
Yeah, he just hasn't had any luck the first 2 races. I mean, what he wrecked in the first lap of the race last week, and he had a really good qualifying spot. Qualified like third or whatever, and then this week just got taken out. I forget who took someone hit him today and spun him out. I forgot who it was, but it was Chase Elliott. I think Chase
it was
Elliott.
Chase Elliott. Yes,
Yeah,
I was looking through the list to remind my who they said crashed into him. But yeah, well, we still got 2 Chases and 2 Austins. We'll see. If there can only be one. Maybe this will be the getting rid of one of the Austins, and next round I'll get rid of a Chase.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if they got rid of a Ford each round too. A Ford this round,
We've
Ford, and
mentioned
then
that.
Logano or Blaney goes in that round of 8, and then maybe one of them makes to the round of 4. So, I mean, I could see both of them being in the round of 4 too. Logano's been stepping up lately too. So, I mean, I do feel like he's going to get a win before the round of 4, probably to make it at some point, but should be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised too. I mean, Austin Cindric, he's really good at restrictor plate tracks. He won Talladega 2 days for my birthday. Talladega's coming up for him. So, There's still a lot of different racetracks left. You got a super speedway, you got a road course, you got short tracks, you got intermediate stuff. So it's a little bit of something left with 8 races to go.
Logano's birthday, 100. Oh wait, no, this is today. Okay, reset. Damn it. Never mind. So it does have the 16 weeks. He was born on the 144th day of the year. We've talked about that.
Logan O.
Thomas Logan. All right, dude, chill. There can only be one. And when did he get his win? Let's just double check real quick. Not that long ago, that's for sure. But when was it? Also, what win would he be going for? 38. Oh yeah, May 4th. Oh, God, I gotta start remembering stuff. What? Oh yeah, Ford Motors has the 50. That's right. This was in my notes a few weeks ago when I had that write up for, was it Bowman? I can't remember. I had a couple drivers that it was a community post I put out, but it was another Saturday race. And yeah, Ford Motors has the 53-55.
Oh yeah, that was probably that Richmond race.
And 53, just like Saturday. So look at racing. Thunder Valley 59.67, Penske Racing 59.67. That'd be
I think Penske might have the most wins there. Rusty Wallace, I think he has the most wins there with 9. Kurt Busch has 6. And Kurt Busch won there with Penske in 2006. Yeah, Penske's got, I think, quite a bit wins at Richmond. I don't think anyone's got more than Wallace. I know Kyle Busch has won there quite a bit too. He might have more. I know Jeff Gordon's won there quite a bit too.
well, I would follow closely the narrative for Byron. Obviously, also there's the potential. Keep an eye on the Toyotas for that 201st win at Bristol 201. The three-peat for all 3 Gibbs drivers is alive and well, and that would be very interesting with what they did with Christopher Bell earlier in the season. So keep an eye out for that too. If anything we've talked about so far kind of like spurred a thought process or anything, let us know in the comments. Obviously, let us know anyway. Anything you guys notice or see or maybe resonated with something that you've seen that we might be missing, because I'm sure we're missing quite a lot. We don't have all the time in the world to keep our finger to the pulse of everything revolving around the sport. But for things we might have missed, let us know. And I wasn't even paying attention to how much big of a deal 16 was in the round of 16. So we've come across a lot of 16s. If you guys were paying attention, maybe that was a bigger factor than I thought. So, but anyway, please do, if you guys are interested in the topic, let us know what you guys see, what you guys think, some of the narratives. We've gotten some great comments about some of the running narratives, and they've been pretty cool to see and think about alongside ours as well. So, hey guys, let us know who you see winning coming up and all that kind of good stuff. Throw your predictions out there. Don't be afraid. You very well might, a couple of these races we've kind of had it, but we've kind of veered off to something that we felt was potentially more obvious, or maybe not obvious, or was something, maybe what we had was too obvious, and that did come and bite us in the butts for a couple of our races. But for the most part, the ones that we've flat out laid, put a semi guarantee on, basically, we've been either got the win, or it seems as if they were almost taken out on purpose, right before they could get the win. So that's happened several times with our number one picks this year. So yeah, it's funny. It's like, as much as it's a weird thought that what we're talking about could have any kind of like ripple effect on the giants of Vegas and things of that nature. I don't know, man. You never know. These algorithms might be tracking several channels that are noticing a pattern. Voice recognition is in your house, by the way. Everybody has it. If you got Wi-Fi, that's what it is. It's only getting, every couple of years they're forcing you to put a new box in your house, and they don't sit there and tell you all the everything about the technology that's in it. You just say, "Oh, I want internet," so yes. And so it's, these AIs are being trained by us, and I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas is an AI machine. You know what I mean? That these things are literally finger to the legitimate pulse of the people paying attention to whatever sport, in order to analyze and move the money based on what people are thinking and doing real time. So anyway, with that being said, thank you all for hanging out for the sports portion of the episode. But with 9/11 right around the corner, it would be a shame not to make it, give it its flowers, if you will. Now I don't know where you want to pick it up from. Maybe just, from the beginning, what were we doing when in 2001 when this happened, and talk about the ripple effects, talk about the, whatever we want really, but talk about, the how they were able to do it, what it really represents, especially nowadays, because it's such a foregone thing that you only have so many people that are maintaining the never forget, because it's not without saying hoax, but because it's a false flag. It was a staged event. So don't forget that. Don't remember 9/11 and have a tear in your eye. Remember it and ball your fist like Arthur, and let's march. Let's not waste this tragedy, like they like to say. I think that's a famous quote, like, never let a tragedy go to waste. Yep. So yeah, so let's kick it down to you.
Yeah, I mean, and we started last year too. I mean, we went out and we first met up there August 18th last year, and then we just started our channel after 9/11 last year. It was like 22nd. It was like 9 days after, 11 days after, and then we had 2 episodes last September, so we're almost a full year into this, and yeah, that's just a year, and this has been 24 years. We're almost up to a quarter century, and yeah, and it's just like for me, like to me, it's just like where and how things have just kind of changed since that time, and how everything's just kind of just uh, been going downhill, and it's just been getting worse, um, and some people say it really started maybe like around 95 when the internet came out, or after Cobain died, or something like that, or even just like maybe earlier 2001. I mean, that was just the whole year was just kind of there's a lot of things that happened that year. There's like the Dale Earnhardt death. There was so many things, and um, I just even that that early 2000s time, like 2002, 2003, 2004, like that time in general. Like just what stands out to me is just like I said, just how much things have changed, how much they've gone downhill. Um, even for me, uh, just like what you just like what you were thinking and what you thought life would be and what it would turn out to be, and where kind of like peaks and in things and humanity would be and stuff, and um just how everything just kind of it's just been this great falling away ever since that time. Everything's just been unraveling. It's just going backwards. um I mean, for those that are young and don't remember, I mean, things were so much simpler back in the '90s and early 2000s. Things were, uh, it's just not only were they simpler, it was an easier time for different reasons. But I mean, things just felt totally different. But I mean, it wasn't like, um, I know you've kind of brought this up, I think, a time or two on here, or whatever. Like, I'm sure you've played like games back in the day, like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. Like I still remember like when I had played like Vice City. That was like the first Grand Theft Auto I played, and like San Andreas, and that came out in like 2004 and stuff. And it's just like I remember like going and getting it and stuff, and just like picking it up and like playing it and stuff, and then just being like 9.5 years old, and it's just like like you didn't realize like what you were like picking up and what you were playing, and like what that was back then, because you're like thinking, oh man, what are video games gonna be like, what's the world gonna be like 10, 20 years from now, and how much better is it gonna be? And you weren't thinking like, oh well, like the PS2 and like say like San Andreas or like Vice City, like this was going to be the best things we're ever going to be. Like this was as good as it was going to get. Like everything after this, it's going to get worse. It's going to be more depressing. It's not going to be as good. It's just going to lose quality. It's just going to feel empty. It's going to feel lifeless. It's not going to be what it is now, and as good as it is now. It's just going to be going backwards. Like I wasn't like that wasn't like on my mind thinking that way. Like like when I like was like picking up playing like San Andreas for the first time, playing games, whatever. Like there was that time where it just felt like anything was still kind of possible, but then like now you just see what everything's become. You just see how things are just how everything's. It's just like this is a kind of random example, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this and know where I'm coming from and see where I'm coming from. But just how um like now it's like you look at it now, we're up to that was the PS2. Now we're up to like the PS5. We're still waiting on GTA 6, and there used to be games coming all the time. Now they take like over a decade to make and stuff, and it's just like people are getting disappointed. It's just this way with everything in life, like um what things were, and like just it's such. And if you're too young, or you don't remember what life was like and how just like everything kind of had quality, and everything just kind of felt like there was like love and like care, and things like that were just put into it, versus what you have today. Because I mean there was a time where things did seem pretty decent, pretty fun, and uh like people actually wanted to kind of make the most of something. And now with the way things have become, it's just like everything is just kind of died off. We're just living in this weird time. Yeah, it's just like for how many years now we're going on like almost 20 years of like having just an iPhone or a smartphone or whatever, where um, it was, you know, the people in the 90s either didn't have cell phones or they were just getting a cell phone, or maybe they had a cell phone, but it really wasn't a big deal. And kind of the same thing in the early 2000s. It wasn't even until 2002 that if you bought a phone brand new in 2002, it came with cameras. You could get camera options with them. And then it was just like 4, 5, 6 years later, everyone's getting the iPhone and stuff like that, and that's, you know, then all of a sudden that's kicking off and stuff like, and now it's just the same thing where, you know, there was a bit of time where, you know, there wasn't anything, wasn't phones, there wasn't internet, there wasn't nothing, and then people started getting some cell phones, and people started picking up this, um, and then it just got a little more advanced, and then, you know, maybe there was like more texting and stuff and some better whatever, and then bam, then they get an iPhone, a smartphone, and like, um, you know, you had your social media pop up, your like dating apps, stuff like that, things that, you know, you didn't have say back in like 2002. I mean, nobody had social media or dating apps. A lot of people didn't were just had a basic cell phone, if they even had a cell phone. I mean, there's people that um didn't even have the internet yet, or didn't even really know what it was or how to use it. And then you had, you know, just like, um I remember for the longest time, like, you know, the internet coming up, and uh you know, like even having like an email, like you used to not have to have like an email and stuff. And then, you know, as you get older, it's like, oh yeah, you got to have an email, internet, and smartphone, because, you know, your job depends on it and stuff like that. And just like how quickly and just like how fast life just kind of changed, and then just how things just kind of started coming about. I mean, if you're old enough to remember, there was just like pockets of time and times that things were just, I mean, even if you're going back like I always like the start of YouTube and stuff, because I mean, a lot of people don't remember there wasn't always a YouTube. I mean, YouTube it's only going to be around for 20 years, I think, come November. So it's uh I mean, the internet was out for 10 years, over 10 years before YouTube. And then YouTube started, you know, becoming a bigger thing and stuff. And there was like a sweet spot in time with the internet and communication where you could really build stuff on, you know, YouTube or different platforms from say about like 2005 to like 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016. There was a sweet spot in time with certain things where things were pretty good overall. But yeah, really, like 9/11 to me is like that kind of marker, because like I always say, like to me, like everything like 2002 previous had like the best quality in it. Like everything was, you know, you could even say some things that were came out maybe like 2003 or 4 were all right, but I could really see things on the decline by like, I feel like 2005. And maybe something still maybe had quality in 2005, but you could just see other things in life going downhill. Like um and I think a lot of people now versus, you know, back then, it was uh more people were more just divided on different, there wasn't, you know, 9/11 was before 9/11, there was, you know, certain things and stuff that people were divided about, and people were against each other about. But 9/11 brought that to a different degree. But you know, it's always, now it's that moment everybody goes back to it. It's like, oh well, because of 9/11, you know, it's always about 9/11. It just became this excuse that everything has to get worse, everything has to decline, everything has to go backwards because of, you know, something that doesn't make any sense. And that was the thing to me. It's like, well, why does everything have to change? And I brought this up too before, how after 9/11 everything changed. I mean, you remember the NFL like conference brackets, those totally changed after 9/11. Um, for the 2002 season, the divisions changed, all that changed. I mean, the WWF became the WWE in May of 2002. So you had that change about, over half a year later. You had, NASCAR was kind of changing. They're phasing out like Pontiac and changing it to the Winston Cup there in the early 2000s and stuff, that not too long after 9/11. So there was everything that was just kind of happening and changing at that time. But really what it comes down to me is 9/11 was just this distraction. It was just this excuse that the world was going to change, but it was going to change for the worse, and over something that made absolutely no sense. I mean, um just going back to that time, I mean, you look at life today. I mean, people wouldn't even, it's just amazing how long ago it was. But uh, yeah, I mean, today that that world was unrecognizable. I mean, how many people, like I said, really had cell phones and stuff? And back then, you had CDs and um, people still use cassettes. You'd still get cassette players in your car, and we had old ways of communicating, and if people were still going out, meeting each other, and that was still the main way of doing things. It wasn't, there wasn't the internet online stuff, where everyone was just, sitting there being alone. People were actually going out doing things. You could actually, uh, meet people and kind of build things and have community. I mean, uh, that's all been taken away from 9/11 and stuff, because terror and fear, and your neighbor could be a terrorist and maybe they're with Al Qaeda or something. It's just all these random dumb excuses. I mean, that's just, and and it's just like, you just see what things have become. And um it's just, a lot of people, when like 9/11 happened, um I think, I mean, there were some people, that I was around that could kind of see other things kind of happening in the background, that, something wasn't right and things were kind of going the wrong way. But, it was always about, once, especially after, like, once it was like 2003, 4, 5, it was all about uh, terrorists and in the war in Iraq, and just the war. And that was just always in your face. Um, I remember, like, 2002, there was still kind of some breathing room and stuff when it came to stuff like that. Like, it wasn't too bad yet, but kind of after that, like about a year after 9/11, you could tell things were changing, getting worse. It's just like, it's amazing, just like, uh, how much time, like how long ago that was. But then, like, sitting here now, of course, COVID has came and gone. And, uh, the next, whenever they're going to do the next big event is just around the corner. And, um, for those that, like I said, there's people that, weren't even alive, um, when 9/11 happened, people like, King Richard and stuff, and other people in the community, because it was just so long ago already. And that's the thing. I mean, it was it was just a different time to be alive. I mean, if you're younger than me, you won't really know what I'm talking about. But like the 90s, early 2000s, and we've said it too on the channel too before, like around, like, the 90s, early to mid 90s, maybe like, 95, right when the internet came out. And back then, I see it as we still kind of had a chance. It seemed like we had a chance and stuff, especially like more so as like as a revolution standpoint. um just from what life was like in the 90s, and the way people were. And uh that early to mid 90s, like, you get to like 95, the internet comes out, and then, like, after that, it's just kind of, things really started to change. And then, you kind of got people that are, that's why you got, Gen Z is from this age or whatever. And, like, the end of, generations from, millennial and stuff. So you had that change in there. And and that's the thing. I mean, everyone that's around that age, they're all older now. Me and you were in our 30s, so this stuff happened, when we were young. We were, still in early life. So this was what made our life, and what, has made our life into what we know it. So for a lot of people that are younger, they won't know that, understand that. But for us, we kind of came into the world right at that time, where we were here for a little bit, and then things started to change and shift. And then this was the event that, uh, like I said, was just always used as that excuse, that dagger to say, oh, everything's got to change, everything's got to get worse, we got to do this now, things are never going to be the same, never forget. And um, George Bush, you're either with us, you're with the terrorists. I mean, this is uh, really where so many problems of today started. And you just look at life. I mean, you go back to what it was to what it is today. I mean, it's just night and day difference. And we're almost up to a quarter century of it, which is amazing. I mean, that's just how much time has gone on. But yeah, there's way too many people that um, still think this was legit terrorism. They think it was Al Qaeda. They think that this wasn't the government, or that it wasn't staged. And there's still so many people that don't understand what happened on that day. But uh, I think the thing is, like, now, especially after COVID and stuff, and now with them going on to their next agenda, like, this is the one where people always got to come back to. It's like, we were just getting over the 90s into the early 2000s. Things still seem decent at the time, but this always has to be that moment in time where people go back and they go, yeah, it was all downhill after this point. And that's how people got to somehow see this. This was an agenda that was long in the making. I mean, there's reasons why, the World Trade Center opened, April 4th, and, day before, Kurt Cobain dies. And there was the 93 World Trade Center bombing. I mean, there was, and all the other predictive programming that went into it. There was so much. I mean, there's Illuminati card game, and you name it, music and music, TVs, movies, shows, everything had 9/11 in it, pictures. I mean, it's everywhere. So it's undeniable. And just how much people were being mocked. And it's just, there's so much. Like, there used to be a lot of good stuff on it, on 9/11 and stuff, like when I was doing a lot of research back in, like, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, maybe up to like 2016. But like, all that stuff now is like deleted and stuff. And that's just the point I'm trying to get at. Like, all this stuff was just so long ago now. I mean, I remember it was like it was just 10 years ago. I was like, oh, that was almost a decade and a half ago. Well, now it's almost a quarter of a century ago. And now a lot of the stuff that was on it, you can't really find and get to anymore. Like, it's harder to kind of bring back the, what there is to show for the actual event. And that's just unfortunate about, the times we're in. It's just a lot of the information is getting scrubbed, and it's getting taken away. But, uh, somehow there's and you got to think too. I mean, we lost, we went trillions of dollars in debt, and we lost all this money, and um, had to spend all this money in wars and looking for weapons of mass destruction. And uh, obviously went over there, and went after all the opium and poppy fields and heroin, and brought all that into the country and did all the damage and stuff. So you got how many agendas came out of this? I mean, there was so many agendas from so many angles. And that's just the thing. I mean, you can always go back to this event. That's just my point, where you could really say, yeah, this was the one where, because COVID was the same way. And in COVID obviously was a lot worse and a lot bigger than 9/11. And but this is what set everything up for COVID to happen, and to get people weakened and softened up for 19 years later, what was going to happen. And yeah, and then for the next event to be how many years away they're going to do it. And then COVID already being over 5 years ago, and the time flying. I mean, this is the event, like I said, where with COVID, and then COVID-19, the 19 hijackers, and 9/11, and everything else. I mean, how this played out through many years. I mean, and then the whole, we found Obama 10 years later, is like right for on my birthday there in 2011 there. Oh, then they finally got Obama, or Osama, and they throw him in the ocean. It's just like, oh my God. And then just, and even how long ago that was. I mean, that's just crazy. That was almost a decade and a half ago now, that crap they made up. And just to, kind of put 9/11 in the, oh, see, it's case closed. We got them. We figured it out. So yeah, just,
Like George Bush, we got him.
yeah, the never ending lies. It's just, that's the thing. I mean, we're just in this never ending lies of crap. And, that's the thing. How it's so hard to get people to, understand this at this day and age because of how long ago this was. And like I said, a lot of stuff that I would try and show people, something, how many years I was looking at stuff. I mean, you can't really do that anymore. A lot of people coming up now, they're young and they don't even remember. They weren't even alive when this happened. So, yeah, that's just kind of like a lot of what I have to say on it too. It's just, I just look at how life has changed since that moment. And there's just certain people either notice it or they don't seem to notice it at all.
Yeah, there's definitely there's like the policies. Of course, people, I would assume a lot of people are familiar with the 98 World Trade Center bombing. Or
Or
93?
93.
Yeah,
Yeah.
93. Sorry. I knew I said something wrong. I was like, wait, did I say 90? Anyway, the 93 World Trade Center bombing. I believe that was under Clinton.
Yep.
Yeah. And so Clinton also went to Yale, just like George Bush. And for those of you, I mean, if you weren't even born for 9/11 or 2001, there's a chance you might not know about the 93 Trade Center bombing. But there was, they attacked the subway underneath, because the subway runs underneath of the World Trade Center. And what's interesting about that is early on during the attacks, you had it was called a bombing. It was, they were reporting it as a bombing. They were reporting it as explosions and bombs. And then, of course, you had the like on street interviews that people were doing where people were saying, yeah, there's multiple bombs going off in all sorts of different buildings. It's not just the World Trade Center. There's all sorts of bombs going off. They could hear them underground, things of that nature. So, and, underneath of the World Trade Center, deep underground, even though, it was mostly a superficial attack that you saw, which is like above ground, uh, it was destroyed all the way down. So, I mean, for those of you who don't know, there's massive claims of insurance scheming in order to get rid of a complex that was going to be deemed uh, like a building that an area that's like a ward of the state type of, like you would a person, but for a build that it was going to be considered derelict, because almost like 90% of the building was vacant. Keep in mind, guys, they were doing art pieces in a lot of the floors. They were renting the space out for art students and things of that nature to go do art pieces, and the art pieces were extremely like morbid things that would end up, these weird liberal art type people. Either way, they were rituals being performed, but they were opening the windows. They had art installations hanging out of the windows on certain floors. This is well before the attacks. They were renting these out to like colleges, and they were able to open the windows. They weren't supposed to, supposedly, but they were like opening the windows and putting like art installations hanging outside of the windows, which is like crazy to think about. But I made a little bit of a joke because I laugh. This might be insensitive to some. If you find sensitivity in 9/11, turn it into anger for the government. Don't be sensitive about potential victims of 9/11. Okay. That's not going to help. That never will. If you believe that being sensitive about victims of Sandy Hook, school shootings, so quote unquote, 9/11, all COVID, you're putting your energy and all of that will that you have, you're wasting it. Just imagine the victim that you believe is real. Do you think that they want you to shed a tear once a year? And or do you think they would want justice so that this doesn't ever happen to anyone else again if they are truly victims? So it's like people point their energy towards being, sad and maybe even cavalier about the situation or gatekeep the situation too. There's a lot of people online that think they can tell you you know, the exacts about it. When it's just like, how many people do you know that were digging in the rubble? How many people total
Yeah.
dug in the rubble of 9/11? You know, less than 1,000. Uh, how many people investigated 9/11? Less than 100. So you don't know anybody that knows anything about what really happened that day. So for you to try to gatekeep and say that, it's a conspiracy theory or all these things are, there's different ways they'll do it. They'll try to over science you and then they'll try to over silence you. Ooh, man. Ooh, ooh. Sorry, I had to give I had to anyway, give myself props there. But and there's the way they'll do it is, by they'll try to use social shame. So it's like it's insensitive. Oh my gosh. But this is all to say that personally I call I act like 9/11 is a holiday. So I'll like people are like, "Ooh, what are you doing on 9/11?" type of thing. So it's I just to see how people react to it. Anyway, it's to me it's not to like piss anyone off or anything like that. To me, it's honestly, it's just funny. And if it does piss you off, then you have some sort of emotional resonance with it. Point that in the right way. Use that for a better thing than to be pissed off at me. It's like I don't know how to fly any planes, all right? So chill. But from what we've uncovered and what we know, you laid a lot of it out, the background plan that had to do, you mentioned the Taliban and the poppy fields and the Osama bin Laden family and all these things, these inner workings that people have no idea about. And if they do have any idea about, it's still hard to tell, I could, I mean, look at the UAE and look at the Dubai nowadays. These
Yep.
people they think that they're better than humans, than regular humans, and they get to walk around and have that reinforced. They go to any country they want, and people kissing their feet, offering up their daughters and stuff. I mean, so in a certain way, it's kind of like physical magic. It's manifesting. Anyway, this isn't just to say about Middle Eastern people. In fact, what I was going to say is, you know, early on, sorry to kind of deviate there, but when after 9/11, I've spoken about this too, but the mania was wild because there was already plenty of Middle Easterns living in America. I knew several, at my school. They're easy to spot. uh, obviously wearing their burqas or whatever. But yeah, the mania after that, adults, kids, the butt of every joke was a brown, a Middle Eastern kid, which I'm sure took the heat off some of the other ones. But you also got to understand it was a much less racist time. People won't let you believe that. People won't want you to believe that. But by the way, when I say racist, I don't even like technically believe in the idea of racism because I wish you wouldn't. If everybody didn't believe in it anymore, it wouldn't exist. We wouldn't allow it to exist. But it's this perpetuation that's really what it is. That's what racism is the perpetuation by the people living currently. There's nothing that happened in the past that forces our hand on what we do today. We just pretend that there is traditions, all these certain things. There's a lot of things that need to be cut out. Especially when people talk about generational curses. What it really is generational perpetuation of like victim mentality. Anyway, I can go. That's somewhat of a different subject. But why I bring that up is because it really was kind of like a golden era where I would say there was just the right amount of what you would call racism. And what I mean by that is you could say stuff you can't say nowadays, and people didn't get mad because everybody knew that they could be the butt of a joke. There was no black people that said, you can't say that. People weren't saying that. If someone said it to them, they're like, if it was a joke, it was a joke. If someone got called that in like standing, you try to cut in line, get in the back of the line, and you say it. It was just what you're saying to a jackass who's trying to cut in line. If it was a white guy, you'd call him some other word. It was a good indicator of things. And it's just like anybody could be called anything. So nothing was racist. Nothing was racist because words aren't racist. Things aren't racist. People are, and they aren't really. It's just like I said, they perpetuate the idea of racism, and that's what it's standing on is a bunch of people with wobbly legs. Somehow there's enough of them to hold this thing up still when we should all just, let it fall into the ground and dissolve. But of course we hold it up. But anyway, the mania after 9/11 is what I was getting at. That was very real. They were able to stir the emotions of all the adults simultaneously to where you saw an influx at school of the kids parroting their adults' talking points. And I'm not one of them because my mom, there's a lot of things I can criticize about my mom and my upbringing, which is not a lot because I honestly have grown into the type of person that takes things as they are. And I don't look back anymore and like think what I was missing or what I didn't get. I don't think about that anymore. There's only things I can get and, what I can, fill in for my kids now. So it's really a terrible mindset to have, but having any kind of regret type of mentality. But, what my mom did right is her ignorance was bliss. She wasn't involved back in the day in all the politics and all these other things. So it stayed out of our heads. And so I was able to go to school and see the mania for what it was because I wasn't a part of it because my mom wasn't brainwashing me at home. So, what I'm bringing up really is, fast forward to 2020, we have COVID and everybody's running out and buying toilet paper because the news said toilet paper 5 times. And it's just like, what part of the flu even involves toilet paper? What you'd want is, Kleenex probably, or like lozenges or something, the flu. It's the flu. What are you planning on doing with all this toilet paper? I don't understand. But look what they got everybody able to do. They were able to shift the minds of the masses on a whim. And that's what this was. This was a gigantic psychological operation, and that's what it is. So I'm kind of like, drawing it back to what I was saying is don't gatekeep this in the way that you want to socially shame people for talking about it. Let people talk about it. I'll draw the parallel, just like racism. Let people be what you perceive as racist. If you don't think it's right, then don't do it. If nobody is going to like everything they hear or that happens. But, a lot of the making people pariahs for trying to talk about this event is comparable to, not being able to get anywhere socially or socioeconomically in this country or most countries because of the ideas that people hold up. And, one of those ideas that people hold up is that government has its best interest for you. And 9/11 was a perfect example. They were able to just slip in everything they needed and for the future surveillance state because they have to do it legally. And when I say legally, that means legally according to their system of legality. And their system of legality says that you're dead at birth, by the way, just so you know. I've talked about this several times, the siesta blah, 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 blue, blue, blue of 1666 by English monarchs. And that remains today. It never says it ended. It never says that ended. And we are still under, I'm not saying British rule, but we're still under the same. The rule is not of the country. We are not ruled by a country. No one's ruled by a
Corporations, a
country.
business. Yep.
Yeah, exactly, and it'll stay that way too. It's corporeal, the body. Our bodies are the merchandise, are the anyway. We are the tender. We are the legal tender, basically. Anyway, I've talked about this multiple times, but the inner workings of what this day, we talk this buttoned up Enron, and that was the big scandal before 9/11 was the Enron. It was all Enron. It was just this boring thing. As a kid, you could care less about anyone ever saying Enron. Just some boring thing that you'd always hear on the news. But like I was saying, this event cemented the legality of multiple things. Obviously, coming out of this was the Patriot Act, and we're still living in it. We just had one of the little side notes of the Patriot Act cemented just this year by Donald Trump to further, and all this stuff is drawn out ahead of time, and for different politicians to have their fingers in to make it not less obvious, I guess, or maybe just because they, there's certain people that need to meet a criteria in order to be involved within the ritual. But for whatever the necessary reasons are, the end result is that our liberties are not our liberties. Our liberties are our personal liberties that we have at arm's length or guns length or weapons length or tanks length if we have them, things that we have at our disposal. That's our liberties. We cannot put liberties in the hands of a government that flies whatever they flew or whatever bombs they blew up into towers and tell the entire nation and the entire world that we were attacked by a country and wage war. It goes on and on. The list goes on and on from there. The dominoes fall from there. But putting our liberties and our rights dependently on them, that's the mistake we're still making to this day. And this was not enough of a wake-up call to anybody then. And you mentioned the early ages of the internet. This is only six years past that. I remember people were still clamoring for phones. Most people only had pagers. And that technology was very archaic. But yeah, it wasn't until like 3 years later did like the standard text message phones really roll out. So even before then, phones were very archaic. I think that BlackBerry was the most sophisticated one, and that was mainly sophisticated because of its like capabilities with a computer. And at the time, that seemed so futuristic that you could have a phone and a computer work together and things of that nature. But really, all it did is like index stuff well. It still wasn't very good at tech. Communication wasn't the key component of the BlackBerry originally. And so, yeah, once my point being is information wasn't able to spread. The dissenting information from 2001 wasn't able to spread fast enough. And that was our excuse then. Our excuse after 2020, I couldn't tell you. That's proof that the brainwashing works. And that's even more proof to them that they can get away with bigger and better things in the future. And it's really scary to see and know that we have such a population such a high population of people that it does, like I said, it can be relatively silent dissent, but it needs to be dissent. You cannot just go along with it. Whether it's going into Walmart without a mask, it's dissent of some form. And I'm not saying, rather than, protest to where you get to the point where you have, these things are like January 6th, owned and operated by the CIA and FBI and the police, and it was just a staged event. And that then all of a sudden now you have that as a blocker for people. That's another social thing that you have to be on one side or the other on, and there is no one will heed the word that it was a fake false flag. Because people will either be so emboldened by the fact that it was real, or so emboldened, or that it was, righteous of the American people to go do that, or people that will say it was terrorists that went and did that. there's no in the middle that are saying, no, these were actors fooling you guys. And that, we've talked about that multiple times too, is it's really hard to tell the fool he's a fool. And there's a lot of, there's better said poetry about that exact idea. But it's a shame that I'm a parent of two. So many people from my generation that lived through this have kids and are raising the next generation to be just as prone to this happening again. And that's evident with obviously with coronavirus, but now you have people, kids that are going to be adults by the time the next attack or whatever strikes. And what is that? Are we going to be making any progress, or are we going to fall even further behind the system?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is too, yeah, everything you said is 100%. It's right on the money, and I couldn't agree more. And I said it too in it was our first or our second episode too. We were talking about Kurt Cobain and Nirvana and 9/11 and all this stuff and COVID. And just like too, I said too then, it's amazing how many people I've talked to in my life go since 9/11 to now, almost 25 years, almost a quarter century. How many people I know that I've talked to that said they know somebody that was in the towers? That's the one that always blows away. Like, oh, I know someone that was in the towers. Well, there must have been fucking millions of people in those fucking towers then. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, everybody, that's like the number one thing they say. Oh, I know someone that was in the towers. Like, everybody says that. So apparently there was millions of people that were in the towers when this happened. I don't know, billions, I guess. So and that's the thing, like you said, it's so, it's like, yeah, you go back, 9/11, 2001. What did you really have to do a lot of research with stuff back then? Like I was saying with technology and stuff. The internet was just in its just got to just over 6 years and like a month at that point, because it came out in August of '95. So it's just over 6 years, just turned 6 years old. It was still in its early stages. It was, it was better than what it was in '95 and stuff and in the '90s, but it wasn't, all that much better. There was no YouTube yet for another 4 years, so you weren't gonna YouTube stuff and look at that. That wasn't available. You didn't have cell phones with cameras. That wasn't coming out till the next year, until 2002. So you didn't even have that. Back then it was very hard. You had to do whatever research you could on the computer or look at stuff, go to a library and look at books. You really had to do hard evidence research. You had to do a lot of things that were very difficult back then, because you didn't have, all the technology and stuff you do today to look through things and figure out things. And uh a lot of people back then too. Like I said, they were just different. A lot of people didn't even probably have the internet, didn't know how to use it yet, or didn't know what stuff was, didn't have a cell phone, and people were just you didn't have all the things you have today. Like now, like you said, with 2020, you go 19 years. Well, now you got all that stuff. YouTube's been out for a decade and a half, been out for 15 years. Smartphones have been out for like 14, 13 years, 12 years, so you had some time with that, your time with YouTube, time with the internet, so there, research, stuff like that was pretty easy to do with COVID, with the internet and, YouTube, and, just how technology's changed, cell phones and stuff like that. And now that was almost, that was over 5 years ago. That was almost 6 years ago now. So it's like, there was these moments in time where people have opportunities to really see something for what it is. And some people back then, there were people that knew, when Kurt Cobain died, it was bullshit, but there wasn't enough people. But, and even the internet wasn't even out then, but people, had enough knowledge to know stuff like that. People could figure out, Kurt Cobain, something was there, but there wasn't enough people. 9/11, it was the same thing. There were some people that knew that plastic and aluminum. And again, if you go back to like our first and second episodes or whatever, we've talked about this, but plastic and aluminum slicing through concrete and steel and coming out the other side. I mean, I when this 9/11 happened, I had like Legos and blocks and different things, and I had like 3 different toy little planes. I had like a plastic jet and I had like a little metal jet, and I had like a little tiny plane. I'd like simulate the crashing and smashing through the towers, like with the blocks that I had. And I could see obviously, and I could tell it was just total bullshit. I mean, it was just an obvious fraud. I mean, plastic and aluminum slicing through steel and concrete coming out the other side. I mean, obviously, 100% that it can't be a plane because that's impossible. I mean, I could figure it out when I was 6 years old. I mean, that's the thing. And you got people now that still can't figure that out, still understand that, and they're still going to defend it. Oh, I know someone that was in the towers, and I know this, and I know that. It's like, no, you don't know anything at all. Shut up, you're stupid. Like, you got to actually think about things and not just get all emotional about it and get all caught up in just the narrative. That was the thing with 9/11. That the narrative just tore people apart, especially years after. I mean, you had people that were freaking out and getting all mad because, George Bush or weapons of mass destruction, or they didn't like the news. They were getting mad at the news because the war on terror, and that's all you heard about. And then, or, people that they knew had to, sign up and go to the war. They were drafted, or they were, whatever, they were leaving, and that was affecting people, and people were snapping. And they came at people with so many angles with 9/11. That was the thing. I mean, especially in the years to follow, in the way things were changing and technology and stuff like that. And like what people, like what even I thought, life would be, and just it's just like, that's the thing. I mean, there was just such the time back then was just, it was so much different. It was so much slower. But I mean, this is where people really, for the first time, like you said too, even with with racism and stuff. Because I 100% agree with that. I don't, racism and the racist, this is stuff that just, it's not natural. It doesn't come from this is coming from something else that's uh exploiting it and bringing it out, and then people are just ushering it in. It's just not coming from a place of people just being it's just not how people naturally act. This stuff is being brought about, and it's just, now you see where things are at, and it's the same. And like I said, it was the same thing with COVID. Oh, it's China. It's China's fault. It came from bats. Blame some bats. Blame the Chinese. Blame someone else. It's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's problem. And that's just, this is where this all really began. I mean, and then you have, like I said, I mean, all the people that defended it and got behind it. People were buying American flags, and you know putting, oh, I'm gonna, shoot a tall head. I'm gonna kill a tall head. I'm gonna get a tall head. I'm gonna shoot some guy with some brown skin because it's his fault. And that's where this all started. And this went on for a long time. And like I said, you had the war on terror, where just people were just, it just made people, put people in a bad mood. And I didn't want nothing to do with it, so I'd be just, playing video games, or I'd be outside. I didn't want to do anything with the TV or the news or anything. And it was just, and then you had everybody just thinking, oh, what's coming next? What's going to happen next? And then trying to get everyone to live in fear. And it's just like, yeah, you could see too, it was just bullshit. Because, what we got, something happened. We got attacked on this day. And then, nothing ever happened again after that. I mean, nothing. I mean, there's just these other, little things here that come up every now and then. Oh, look, a Boston bombing. See, this is proof 9/11 happened, because now it's 11 years later, it's 2012. And oh, look, there's a Boston bombing. And then, oh, COVID, see, and then now it's COVID. So this is, and like you said too, just how people just, to get people in line for things, with COVID, but the thing is, the disappointing part was, people back in 9/11 and back in the 90s, early 2000s. I mean, it was, like I said, it was harder to learn things, and it was harder to do the research on things and go back and find things, because you didn't really have a lot of references. You didn't have a lot to go off of with stuff. Now with COVID and other stuff, people had all day and all the time in the world to do research, all the time to look at these things, and they should have already had suspicions about 9/11 or whatever else, or Kurt Cobain or something. Something had to get them suspicious, get them researching. And then this should have been like, oh, now COVID, and then COVID-19, and 19 years after the 19 hijackers on 9/11. But people weren't people didn't, again, they didn't see it coming. That's the thing. I mean, people were blindsided with 9/11, and sadly they were blindsided, even worse with COVID. And yeah, it's just that, this is just, I mean, these are the events of our life that have shaped our life. One was I was a child, and one I was, an adult, and having to deal with the difference between the two. And, the unfortunate thing is, now we have to worry about the next one. If we make it to the next one, or we live long enough for the next one, or we're going to be part of the next one, whatever it's going to be, because, people didn't stand up to these two. They didn't go back and look and do the research. They didn't figure it out. And we're going to have to pay for it down the line. And yeah, we're just a few days away from another anniversary. And it's just, it's amazing the years that have gone by and how much time changes things.
You know what else time changes? I guess building techniques. Because I mean, just look at the snapshot of the Empire State Building, which still stands today, obviously. I mean, just look at this thick. Like, look, I mean, what are the size of these? These are like, I don't know, like 10 by, maybe not 10 by 10s, obviously, but I don't know, like 3 foot by 3 foot, like thick concrete slabs as the facade, built on, placed on top of a brick, placed on top of steel. And look, a B-52 crashed into the Empire State. Look at what it did. It bounced off. Look at it.
Yeah.
It bent a girder and said, "Oh, I can't do that." A B-52, huge, or B-25. At the time, pretty state of the art. Airplane for the time. So let's see. Could carry up to 3,000 pounds of bombs. Interesting to know. I know modern aircraft carry about 3,000 pounds of chemicals. So
Yeah.
But I mean, this thing crashed into the Empire State, and I mean, people are standing there just like, they're not jumping out because it's on fire and jet fuel is melting the beams. Obviously there's differences. Okay. I'll lend that one. But I mean, let's just say even just construction differences. But you think more modern building techniques would, and you got to understand that World Trade Centers were built for inner strength, core strength. What failed? The core. It's like the Titanic all over again. It's an unsinkable ship. No, easily sinkable, which, obviously, for those who don't know about the scam of the Titanic, that's, another story. But point is the idea behind it. The World Trade Centers, their elevator shaft core was like impenetrable, basically. The 93 bombing didn't do anything. It did nothing. Like, that didn't even touch scrape the foundation. Like, it was built to withstand a lot. And obviously, like you said, throw a couple aluminum planes at it, and you can tear those things down from top down. You can tear them down. And that's what people believe to this day, en masse. Now, I know there's been waves throughout the 24 years where people have gained consciousness about it, but what's done? Oh, like 19 years later, you have COVID, and where's the proof in the pudding that we can see through anything? I need to see proof in the people outside and about and with me. I could care less about a TikTok. I could care less about a YouTube video that tells me that people are waking up. Where are they? Show yourselves. Waking up and hiding in the shadows, doing nothing for you, doing nothing for anybody. It's doing everything for the people that make you feel like you need to sink into the shadows. But there should be millions of people. And I'm not saying any kind of majority. I can't ask for a majority. I can't believe in a majority. at this point in my life, but there should be some percentage that's tangible that you can see and hear and know, but they're few and far between even in this day and age. And like you said, great perfectly, is that there's no excuse. The internet's not the excuse anymore. 9/11, there was a few excuses that kept information flow at a premium. To 2020, everybody's got, you know, the Nazi supercomputer in their pockets that could, encrypt your whole life and everybody's life on one phone, but we get a new one every 2 years. It's just, but we can't know anything. With this item, we can't know everything. But what does everyone know? Everything. Ask anybody and they'll tell you they know everything. They'll tell you how you're wrong for questioning things right off the bat. And I faced that 2020 heavily. Obviously, I wasn't trying to go around debunking 9/11 as a kid, but in my later years I did. But in 2020, good luck. I lost one of my best friends. Almost everybody at work, took what I said with less than a grain of salt. They, didn't care for it. There, and like I've said multiple times too, they were more than happy to keep their masks on. In fact, they pushed for it, and they were. It's very sad. A lot of those people still work at my job. And I just got to look at them and always know it's just like, nope, you can't, as it stands, until you show something, significant. When the shit hits the fan, I'm staying as far away from you as possible. You're the kind of person that would, we're over here, when the army comes to town, come save us, army. And there's no American flags on their not to say that the American flag is a symbol of actual freedom or anything, but I'm saying when the militia comes to, when the mercenaries come to town, you'll look at the fatigues and you'll say they're here to help. You're that kind of person. So I need to keep you far away from my family and me. And that's kind of that weird place that these things put us in, is like tangibly, or are we willing to do what's necessary when we're surrounded by people like that? And I'm not saying what's necessary is any kind of violence. I'm saying, but you can't save everybody, and you got to save who you can save, or else there's nothing left to save. If we all try to overreach and save everyone, we'll save nobody. And I just wish in this day and age that, the degrees of separation were a lot smaller were larger with the positivity, and smaller with the negativity, that, everybody pulls in and doesn't want to hear anything outside. On both levels, you have the people who are mainstreamers, and they also pull in because they believe what the mainstream's telling them, and which is saying everything outside is dangerous, so they pull in. And then you have the other people that know that the mainstream's lying, and so they get scared and they pull in. Either way, it benefits the mainstream. Both sides. It's so frustrating that no one can see that it's just maintaining the status quo for a bunch of people that put you there and want you there. How do you not know? How do you not feel it? How does it not rattle your bones? How do you not feel the squeeze? It's disheartening, but at the same time, it's emboldening as well. So it's like, I know that for me and the people around me, that I'm going to make my presence felt. So, you know, good luck. Good luck not at least hearing the truth when you're around me. And if more people were willing to do that, we could break the stigma that's holding us to these social quote unquote norms that are holding us down. They are holding the truth from reaching the light. And there's a lot of ideas too that the truth isn't meant to be cast into the light, that the truth will bring itself to light. And that could be, but there's a chance too that the truth bringing itself to light is using us, is using the light within people to cast light on in the shadows where the truth is being buried. So maybe, there's that to think about, and that's kind of a shout out to the more religious side with people, because there are sides of that I completely understand and I agree with. There's other things I don't understand and I don't agree with, but there's a lot in especially Christianity that I do also,
as the kids say, I vibe with.
back in the day, that was like a gay slur that we used to say to other kids, like vibing. That it's so funny that everybody and their mom says vibing now. Like that only used to be talking about a vibrator back when I was a kid. So you'd be calling people like a dildo basically when you talked about vibing, and now it's like the word. It's crazy how they do it. And they just force us to live through it and pretend like we don't remember. But it's whatever.
Yeah, it's just amazing how it's all come down. I mean, the thing is too, I mean, just even for myself and generally, just, being born right for the internet, like I always say, and then just the internet coming out and just like, and the PlayStation 1 comes out, like the PlayStation 2 comes out, and you say, yeah, I lived, like, that's why I always say, like, I feel like I've lived through like I've lived like 10 different lives, because that's really how I feel. Like, I feel like I've had like 10 different cutoff points. Like, okay, this is the end of this. Now we're going over here. Then you're going to be over there, and that's going to be the end of that. And you're going to go over there, and then at the end of that, and you're going over there. That's how I just see it. Like, there was just moments in time leading up to all this technology, all these things. I mean, like you said too, like where were people, like, even back in like, 2008, 2009, 2010, it just seemed like should have been more people that, I mean, a lot of people didn't know this stuff back then, but it seems like there should have been more, with cell phones becoming a lot more popular, almost everyone having one back then, and smartphones and iPhones, and then YouTube and the internet and stuff. And then, it's just amazing. I mean, I never had a phone with internet till I was literally, it was like September of 2014. It was like 13 years after 9/11. That was 11 years ago. So I was almost the midway point of all this. So next year it'll be 12 years to 12. So it'll be right in the middle. So yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and then I got a smartphone like in 2016, and then 2 years later, after I get the iPhone, I get the smartphone, and then uh, COVID's coming just a few years later at the end of 2019 and 2020. And it's like it's just like the timing, how everything happened and how everything just moved and played out. I mean, it's amazing when you relive it and you rethink it, and you see how they did all this, and, with technology, and how they just kept moving things along, and, making things happen. And, it's just amazing how this is all played out, and how they've done it, and they've kept so many people in the dark, and kept some people off from seeing the light and seeing what's really going on. And yeah, it's amazing. Just been doing so much research for so long, looking at so much of this stuff for so long, and just seeing what a lot of it is, and just learning, and just knowing that that's just something that just isn't, it's just like you would think, like, when I was a kid, like I said, just like the way things are going, you'd think, yeah, people would do research, they would want to learn things, they'd want to know things, they would figure things out. But now, like I said, I went from being just a kid to now I'm in my 30s, and now here's the world today, and this is the truth of it, and this is what it really is. And it's just, I mean, you can't even put it into words. I mean, there's just no words to describe it. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, that's just the thing. I mean, you have so much time in life, but yet it's so short, and things are always happening, they're always changing, there's always motives, there's always things coming and going, and things ending and beginning, and we're moving into different times. And it's just like now we're at the end of the internet and AI and all this stuff, and we're moving into the next life, the next phase, the next year or two and things are gonna be completely different. So there's just only so much time people have in life to see things and figure things out. But yeah, it's just amazing. And here we are. I mean, like I said, we've almost been on here a year now, and you just look at what's happened in this whole year and how quickly the time has gone by, and um what we've been able to do in almost a year, because it's a couple episodes away from being a full year on here. But uh yeah, this was like I said, I mean, 9/11 is just creeping up again. Like I didn't even really think about it much. It's like, oh yeah, 9/11. Yep, another year goes by, and that's just what it's become. It's just like, oh, yep, yeah, now that was, yep, another year ago now. Yep, and it's just like I've been saying this for how long now, and it's just like it's crazy. I mean, it just feels like it was just a decade ago. It was a decade and a half ago. Now it's 2.5 decades ago. Soon it's going to be over 30 years. And it's like it's just unbelievable. And then with COVID over 5 years ago now, it's just yeah, it's just amazing, just sitting waiting for the next 19-year cycle.
Precisely. We're just apparently living by the moon, or the non-luminary bright thing, and the bright non-luminary sitting in the sky that they tell us about. But you hit it on the head, and like you did mention there at the end, almost to our year, and by almost we mean 7 days away. 7 days. But this is kind of a rallying call to anybody who wants to be involved with next week's episode. I'm going to reach out to a few people in the community and see if we can make it a kind of like a big deal. Not to toot our own horn or anything like that, but just kind of like all right, we made it a year. We're here. We mean business. We are, we put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. And let's see what we can do. Let's build. And um, I'll do some work reaching out this week for to a few different people. See if we can hop on and have kind of like a mega discussion, mega stream, mega talk. Kind of show what's possible with a bunch of people getting together and meshing our point of views, and kind of like just getting closer, because like I've mentioned several times, with meeting you, it's just like we met. There's a difference between chatting
Right.
and Zach's chat and meeting, and like having, I feel like I've relatively met King Richard now. Of course, I still want to meet him as well, and hang out with him, and that is still a difference. But just being, getting closer to what that is, with what's available is, is of the essence, just like the time that we have is. So yeah, it'd be our 1 year anniversary or show, or inaugural and 1 year anniversary. So it'd be cool to make something of that. Not that I care about, like, necessarily, those types of standards of measurement of things. But anyway, it'd be cool to do something positive in the direction of community. So I will do my best to reach out to a few people I've reached out to in the past as well. And, obviously try to get King Richard on here, because I think he should be a part of it as well, and see what we can make of it. And, but yeah, this is a good time for anybody, if you have something you guys want us to shout out next week for our big 1 year, hit us up in the comments, hit us up in the email. It scrolls across our page. It'll also be down in the description below. I left a little question for you here at the end, if you made it to the end or not. But what was the world event that defined your existence, or your memory, or whatever that is, for you? And we obviously covered a few of the ones from our lives, but obviously there's world wars and things of that nature, and people are different ages, and people live in different countries. So let us know in the comments. And if you once again, as always, if there's something you guys want us to cover, or things you guys want to talk about, if you guys want to get involved with the stream, with the recording process, or the stream, or that channel, hit us up in the comments, hit us up in our email. And but yeah, until next week, where our first year comes to a close, we'll see you then. Later.
Peace.